What is up, music teachers? Ben here. In this video, we're going to be talking about who is an irresistible music teacher. I'm really excited to talk about this, especially this lesson. And the reason why it's so important is right here. It's because the reason why most teachers aren't where they want to be in business, it really isn't just a lack of strategy, but it's really because they aren't aligned with the person that they need to be in order to support a six-figure studio. So, especially in this video and throughout this week, we're going to be talking about not just the strategies on being clear on your messaging, on your offer, but also being clear on where do you want to go? Like, where is the studio going to take you? And in order to get there, we have to become irresistible music teachers. So in this video, really want to lay out the four pillars, what I believe are the kind of like the four most important things of becoming an irresistible music teacher. There's gonna be a lot of things that go involved with it and a lot of factors. But I want to share my story along the way. I want you to get to know who I am and my growth so that you can understand like why this is so important. And I'll throw in some teacher stories as well, the teachers I work with that have gotten to their six-figure studio, just so you have a better understanding on who you need to be as well. Because at the end of the day, like my stories and the other teacher stories, they're going to be helpful, but starting now, you're going to be creating your own story, right? Your journey is going to be different from everyone else's. So you may align with these beliefs, you may not be, but what I want to encourage you to do is really figure out who you are right now and who do you want to become. Because just like it says here, like before we can get into any of the strategies of the marketing, we need to make sure our core foundation is strong. And a lot of people, and a lot of other coaches, they don't really focus on this. They focus on just the strategy. So having this in place, this is how we create a solid foundation so that when the strategy is stacked on top of it, it's going to be very, very strong. So the first thing I want to talk about is all of the challenges that we all face. And I categorize it into three things: imposter syndrome. There's points of perfectionism that go in that we face with. There's stuff about procrastination as well. But I wanted to share all these and let me know if you can be able to relate to these as well, because these are all questions or concerns and challenges that I've heard, not just from my clients, but from teachers in my six-figure studio community as well. So I get a lot of people asking and concerned about themselves, asking are people going to buy if I raise my rates, right? There's a little bit of that imposter syndrome that goes by. What if my students don't want to switch to the hybrid program? I had that feeling a whole lot when I was switching myself from one-on-one and trying to make more room for myself switching to group as well. I was like, what if these parents don't want to switch their kids to group lessons? What are people going to think if I start posting about my studio? That's something that I thought about too. Is my family and friends going to see my stuff posting, and are they going to think I'm cringy, right? What if I sound salesy when I talk about my offer? Nobody wants to do that. Am I capable of having a six-figure studio? That's a hard question to really ask. Before starting up my coaching business, I really had that concern. Am I capable of being able to have a six-figure business for myself? I get a lot of teachers saying like, hey, I know I'm a great teacher, but why aren't students buying? Or why am I not getting conversations started? Why is it not translating to my business? Um, but also too, a lot of people who were jaded in the past might say like, it didn't work last time, so why would it work this time, right? All these feelings of imposter syndrome, they definitely go up. And this lesson, and the things that I want to teach you, especially with becoming an irresistible music teacher, that is how we're going to be able to solve all of these. Especially thoughts of perfectionism. What do I say to get to my students to buy? Right? I need to be clear. I need to be clear on my ideal student before I can make content. I see a lot of teachers that kind of goes in with procrastination of waiting to be perfect. It's kind of like us as musicians. I feel like musicians are natural born perfectionists, especially because we love the craft that we do. We want to strive for perfection. We want the art that we make to be in its purest form. So I totally get it, but that's one of the things that's challenging, that really comes up, that stops us from being able to move forward. And we really need to learn how do we able to move forward. And then the last thing, procrastination, right? In this journey, especially if you have a really busy schedule already. There's going to be times where you're going to think, man, like I don't have enough time to do the work. It's taking me too long. Like, should I just like do something else other than work on my business, right? I feel like I have so many things to do. Like I'm starting to feel overwhelmed. Those things are going to come up. You might say, "Oh man, this task is really boring. Like I don't want to do it." Or like I said before, there's that procrastination in order to be perfect. So I want you to keep these things in mind because these thoughts are not things that we should try to stop, but these are thoughts that we need to be aware of because they are going to come up in every single level. I've been surrounded by teachers who are all sorts of different levels, ones that are just starting, ones that are already having a six-figure studio but want to get to that next level as well. We all face some level of these challenges, and I want you to just be aware that these things come up and not feel bad when they do because they still come up with me as well. And especially when when I was at my peak of my studio and I had full-time music full-time music ed degree that I was working on plus a full studio plus being in a relationship too. uh, takes a lot of time, right? And I want you to be able to make sure that you are always moving forward and that you are always progressing towards not just the studio that you want to build, but the person that you want to become as well. So keep all of that in mind as we go through these pillars here. So the first thing I want to talk about is a book. And it's been one of my favorite books this year as of filming this video. And if you are in my world, you probably have seen or heard me talk about it before, but it's this book, The Creative Act. So you can see on the little screen. Hopefully it's flipped around correctly. But I have left a link right here for you to purchase the book. And I highly recommend this because this book has helped me really find a path with my own career as a music producer. So a little bit of context there. This year, as of filming this in 2023, I made a commitment to myself to really get back into being a musician full time. And the reason for that is because I've loved working with teachers, and I've been helping teachers switch the hybrid model for about a couple years now. And I realize I love working with teachers who want that freedom in order to focus on their music career, right? They want that freedom in order to practice, in order to perform more. I love working with those teachers. But I felt like there was a disconnect because I wasn't focusing on my own musicianship. So this year, I made a commitment to myself to focus on my own music production skills, and it's been going really, really well. Especially with getting better at my skills. I've been making a new song every single week, and the transformation I've already had since January 1st to now in October has been like crazy. And this is not the video to really show that, but but if there ever is a time when I show you my music, I can show you the before and after. And the main thing is like I feel really proud of the transformation that I've had, and I credit a lot of that to the lessons that I've learned in this book, because this book has taught me how to think and, more importantly, live as a musician. And the reason why that's so important is because the problem that I've always had is like when I've been learning about entrepreneurship and business and trying to apply that to my studio and this coaching, I've always felt like business was just a whole different world. Like it's just another way of thinking. And it didn't really align with the way that I naturally am as a creative, right? As a musician. And I feel like a lot of teachers are jaded in the same way as well. And I want to really bring awareness to this because this, I feel like, is the reason why there's been such a disconnect uh, between the business world and the creative world, or or more importantly, how teachers treat their studios versus how they treat their artist life. And this book has really put it all together and help me have the right mindset around how should I live as a musician, how should I live as a business owner and as a studio owner, and a coach, but more importantly, like how I should live as a person. Because the problem here is if you're trying to live if you're trying to have a certain mindset as a musician, but then all of a sudden you switch up and you switch to a different mindset when you're working on your studio, it doesn't work like that, because we're still in the same body. We're still the same person throughout that. So what I want to really bring to you is I really want to bring congruency, and I really want to bring alignment to who you want to be. And that's why I recommend this book. Like, I'm only going to scratch the surface of what I've learned in this book, and really show you how I've applied it to this business, how I've helped teachers apply it to their studios, and how you can be able to do the same as well. So right here underneath the title, I put in like 3 words here, three little points that like 3 points out of this book that really resonated with me. So it's really talking about awareness, balance, and detachment from outcomes, expectations, and judgment as well. So especially with awareness, so I'll talk about these things like in terms of myself and my experience as a musician, also myself and my experience in my business as well. So especially with awareness, like being a music producer, it's really important to be aware of like how I'm feeling, because in the songwriting process, how I feel is really going to be my compass and guide me to where I want to take the song, or where the song needs to be taken. So being aware of how I feel, practicing meditation has really helped me like transcend my skills, and it's put me in like a trance every time I work on my music, um, because I'm aware of how I feel. Like, I know where my feeling is pulling me. I know where the song is trying to take me because I'm aware of that. So especially with the business, it's all of these challenges that really come up in business. It's so important that I need to be aware of how I'm feeling in that moment, so I can pivot, so I can change, so I can be able to, be able to learn from that mistake. So for you as well, I want you to be able to work on practicing awareness, practicing how do I feel, and not chasing feelings, not chasing answers, but allowing answers to come to you, and being aware of that feeling of when the answers come to me. It's like, especially when like inspiration strikes, that's all about really being aware of that feeling coming to you. um balance is a really big one, because there's not a perfect way to do things, especially in this book. Rick Rubin contradicts himself a whole lot, right? He'll say one thing, but then he'll say the exact opposite. He'll say you should do the exact opposite as well. And you will hear me say that in this program and in the other training videos. Like, you might hear me contradict myself. And it's not a right or wrong thing, but it's more about having balance, right? It's being aware and having that balance of like, okay, not too much of this and not too much of that, but having the right amount that fits you. So the last thing here, detachment from outcomes, expectations, judgments. We'll talk about this more with the pillars. This is a really big one, especially for my own music. I found that when I have made my best songs is when I really don't expect it to be anything. There's been times where like I've had this internal pressure to finish my new song every week, and I've procrastinated, right? And I've got down to the last the last day or two where I need to finish it, and I'm like, okay, screw it, I just need to finish it. Like, I don't care how it sounds, and by the end it really becomes one of my best songs. And same thing with my business as well. I found that my best sales and my best clients have really come from when I didn't really expect them to buy, when I didn't judge them for what their journey was before, when I didn't care if I got the sale or not. Those have been, in my experience, the best sales, the best like clients that have come in from that. So I want you, I highly encourage you, I highly suggest that you go ahead and just buy the book and read it, because this is going to be able to transform and really just, I feel like, finally click. It's going to be like, oh, everything makes sense. You're going to have this sense of relief because of that. So the most important thing that I've gotten out of all of this is that there isn't a different way of thinking about business versus music, right? But an irresistible music teacher, they treat their business as their art. And what does that mean? It means living your life in alignment as a musician and a studio owner. The way you like think about how you are as a musician, and like how did you think and how do you feel when you're making your art, when you're performing, when you're in your craft, when you're teaching, right? All of those lessons that you teach to your students, you want to be living that out in your studio as well. And that is the key to not only having the studio that you want, not only having the freedom to be the musician that you want, but overall living the life that you want as well. It needs to be in alignment. So to help you with that, let's talk about the 4 pillars. And of course, there's probably more than 4 pillars, but just to keep this video like concise, right, and actually potent, I want to make sure that you have the things that have helped me the most and that I've seen helped my teachers the most as well with their journey with creating a 6-figure studio. So the first one is that an irresistible music teacher has conviction and belief in themselves. I put this number 1 because this is probably the most important aspect. Especially with all of these things, especially with like imposter syndrome, right? Are people gonna buy if I raise my rates? What if people don't want to switch? All of that's gonna really come down to how much do you believe in yourself? How much do you believe in your studio? How much do you believe in the transformation you provide? How important is that for you? And there's gonna be times where it doesn't feel as strong and it doesn't feel as powerful as it used to be. But you don't need anything else other than yourself to really get that fire back. You don't need me. Because when I think about my own journey and my own transformation, like in the beginning, I really only had myself. And I remember getting my first piano student. It was like so unexpected because it was right when I started my music ed degree in my freshman year of college. And it was like a family friend who saw me play in church and wanted to give piano lessons to their kid. I had no teaching experience other than being a section leader in my high school, right? But I believed in myself so much that I was like, I'm willing to take that risk. I'm willing to be a bad teacher and get that experience in order to become a great one. And that's what really kicked it off. It was just belief in myself. So what you want to do if you are ever feeling like that fire is not as bright as it as it was before, right? Look back at your own transformation. And what's really going to help is look back at the evidence. And I've gone through this exercise with so many of my teachers, and this is really what's been able to help them get back on the bandwagon, get back into momentum. It's remembering, look how great of a teacher you already are, right? Reclaiming your power back and looking at the evidence of, look at all of these students. Remember all of those students that you have transformed. How can you not be a great teacher? As I'm talking about this, think about your own experience right now and think about your own transformation from yourself and your own experience, because that's going to help your confidence. When you're feeling doubts in your own teaching method, think about your own experience. Think about your students' experience, because then you'll see like, okay, wait, there is actually no way that I can't not help students because I already have, right? The evidence is all right there. And that's why, like, in the future, like, later on in the program, I'll be telling you about testimonials and why testimonials are so important, because they're not only it's not only social proof for, in your marketing, but it's going to be social proof for yourself when you're feeling down. When I'm feeling down, what I do is look at the testimonials that I've gotten from my clients and from my students. And it just helps me remember that, okay, I'm not starting from the beginning. I have done this before. I have gone through years of this. I know what I can do. And then that gives me the spark to really get back. I also wrote here, your job as a teacher is not to give answers, but to empower people. So not only having conviction yourself, but one of the things that I've been practicing as well as a coach and as a person is having belief in other people. And I want this video is really designed to empower you, to help you realize that You don't need anything completely new in order to create a six-figure studio. You already have the power. You already have what it takes to be able to get there. It's just about unlocking that. One of the things that has helped me really find a conviction in myself is having this statement here, like saying I am where I am because of yada yada yada. Right. So this is an exercise that you can do as well. Write this down. Like write down all the different lists that you can create of like I am where I am because I've always kept moving forward. I am where I am because I've always believed in myself. So write all of those things for you to really see your transformations, really see your journey. Like how far have I come? And I just put a word here, pretty self-explanatory. An irresistible music teacher is a leader, and a leader is someone who has conviction in themselves, even when nothing is going right, even when you post and you get no responses, right? You still have conviction in yourself because you you've already experienced that transformation. You've already done it. Even through the risks, that's what really builds the conviction. That's what creates the courage. It's not doing the things that are comfortable, right? And if you think about your students in this spot as well, you would want them to take risks. You would want them to perform even though they're terrified, right? Because what happens after that performance is that they become braver because of it. They become more confident in themselves because of that risk. And all of this right here, it really helps when you are mission driven, right? When the pull and the desire to share this transformation becomes way bigger than the fear of it. That is who an irresistible music teacher is. Someone who has that mission, who understands this is bigger than myself. Like I'm willing to take the risks to be uncomfortable because I believe in this mission so much. So there's gonna be a lot of times where we talk more about this, but that's probably the foundation of it. Belief in yourself is really what's going to help you create a six-figure music studio. Especially, I've had a teacher who has like, okay, I'll just share one of my stories here. It's like I had a teacher. His name is Tristan, and he's a piano teacher. He had a lot of teachers under him, but he also had a really really busy schedule as well. The very first thing we worked on was switching to his hybrid model, but his experience was really smooth, and I attribute that to his own belief in himself. And every single meeting that we had, he's always been like, "I'm so excited to switch to the hybrid model because because I believe in it, right?" And his transition was really really smooth. He was able to fill up 12 of his spots in his hybrid model really quickly in the span of like a month or two because he just believed in it. Every single new inquiry that he got, he talked about it with so much like conviction and so much confidence that it sounded like a no-brainer for his students. So he didn't really need any strategy because of that. He just needed that belief in the program and in himself, even though this was something new that he's never taught group lessons in this way before. That he was willing to take that risk and be like, okay, this is something new. I'm willing to take that risk, but I'll figure it out along the way. And that's what was able to help him be able to transition into the hybrid model. So that's the first point. I want to move on to the next one so that we have enough time here. The second one here is that an irresistible music teacher lives the habits aligned with their future self. And these are things that are aligned with the person that I want to become. So let's make that clear. Like these things here don't have to be what you believe. Like these don't have to be your habits, but in my experience, these are the habits that I've seen in the people that I want to become like. These are their habits, and I want to be able to model off of who I want to become. right? So the person I want to become does the work consistently, keeps moving forward, always shows up. The person I want to become practices their spirituality and their faith, is their practices their awareness, especially with the musician that I want to be as well, right? The Ben who's a music producer who works with the best artists out there, that person always works consistently on their music, always keeps them going forward, even if there's no inspiration, always shows up with to their music. Especially in this book, in the creative act, this is the part that has really transcended my progress, but I feel like I've done things that I can't put logic into. And I've seen this I've seen this like experience with so many of my clients, but when I practice my spirituality and my faith, like crazy things happen. Unexplainable things. I've had teachers who have had their income cut in half and they need to, they need to find the money. Like just by, telling them to practice their spirituality, like they've suddenly all of a sudden these inquiries have come in. And I don't want to like lead you on and just be like if you pray, leads are going to come to you, but what's important to really understand is that sometimes we just need to let go. And what I'm not asking you to be is I'm not asking you to be religious or anything like that. You don't have to have a religion to be successful. But what I've learned that you do need to have is you do need to practice an aspect of spirituality, because that is really what music is all about, right? Music is all about like going into that realm that you can't touch and being able to pull that into reality, right? And if you're able to do that with music, you should be able to do that with your business as well. So you'll hear me talk about more stories like that, but again, like I've had teachers who just the moment that they've committed to, okay, I'm gonna practice my spirituality, like crazy things have happened, and I'll just leave it as that because like I just know, I just know that those things have happened, and I can't explain it more than that. And the only way to really learn about it is to actually take the leap of faith, right, and start doing that. If you don't know, like if you can't really figure out like how do I start practicing my spirituality, best thing to do is just to meditate and focus on your awareness and understand that there's something out there that's going to bring me the thoughts that I need, that are going to bring me the energy I need. So I would suggest just closing your eyes, putting a timer on your phone, putting it on airplane mode, and just really thinking like, what is my intuition telling me? What are my thoughts trying to tell me right now? And just focusing on that, not chasing anything, but just allowing thoughts to come in. That's what I feel like the first step would be. So the third step here, the third pillar, is an irresistible music teacher practices what they preach. So what what I believe is so important to becoming an irresistible music teacher is that a teacher needs to be able to prioritize their craft in order to share it. The problem here I see with so many music teachers, and the thing that I again suffered from myself, the reason why I got back into music production for myself, is I felt there was a disconnect in what I was teaching and what I was living because I wasn't actually making the time for music, right? I like how do I teach my students to love music if I don't love it myself? How do I teach my students to prioritize practicing if I don't practice myself? And you can say those things to your students, but they can feel it, right? It's that energy. It's that unexplainable energy that people can just feel. So for me, I have so much conviction in my own like process, in my own music making process, because I've done it so many times, and I want to be the type of person that always prioritizes my craft. So that's why I'm always learning with music. That's why I'm always learning with business. And that's why I always have like a mentor, because I always want to prioritize my craft in order to share it. I want to be someone that lives and breathes their art. And that was something that I've learned not just in music and in business, but like in other areas too. I watched this pizza documentary in Netflix, and one of the lessons that I got is that these world class chefs, they live and breathe pizza. It's crazy, but that's the level that we need to be at in order to create a six-figure studio. We need to be able to live and breathe our art so that people can feel it. The moment they see us, they can feel, oh, this person's a musician for sure, right? Someone who seeks others in community. That one's really important for me because if you are trying to transition to the hybrid model, you you need to be community oriented as well. You need to you need to be someone who seeks others because that's what the hybrid model is really all about. It's transitioning away from this just one-on-one model to a model where they're surrounded by support, they're surrounded by a community. And that's really where I feel like music has really spread. Music spreads in a community, in a culture. We need to be able to do the same with our studio as well. Have an environment where the music is able to live and breathe through ourselves and through our students. That is really why the hybrid model is so successful and why I believe in it so much, why I have so much conviction in it. And that's why I believe that like every teacher needs this model because this I feel like this is the best model where music is able to music is able to be free flowing, able to live in that space. So I want you. So there'll be I think in the next lesson there will be an opportunity for you to really focus on what are the habits that I want to practice, right? What do I preach that I want to practice more? So those things, think about that as you are going through these lessons. The last one here that I want to end off lives free of judgment and expectations. And I feel like for me personally, this is one of the hardest things that I have for me and myself that I have to work on because I'm one of those people who wants to get things done and wants to get there to the end. Um, I was having a conversation with my music production coach, and I was like, how do what's the difference between like where I am right now and how I get to where my favorite artists are in their career. And one of the things that he pointed out was just like they've just done it longer. They've just done it more consistently. So there's really nothing that you can do other than rack up the years. And that has really helped me practice my patience. That like there's really nothing I can do other than focus on the process of getting better at being a producer right now. Like there's no way that I can get to that level tomorrow other than just being patient. So that's what I have to do. And especially like I talked about before in the creative act, my own experience as a music producer, I've created my best tracks when I've just like not expected it to be my best track or anything like that. When I'm just like, okay, I just need to get it done. Right? So the same thing with our studios too, right? We expect people to buy. We expect our content to perform a certain way, but we can't do that or else we'll always, there's going to be a chance we'd be disappointed by that. And what we have to do, what I have really learned for myself that I just need to focus on the process, but also find a process that I enjoy. And that is the real key of like the hybrid model is because, we can't expect results out of our students. Right? There it's up to them to get the results for themselves. So what I'm going to focus on is having a process that's enjoyable for me and the students. I'm going to have a process that supports sustainability, that supports longevity, that supports the things that music needs to be, which is a lifelong thing. So I want you to be in a studio that you can pretty much be in for the rest of your life, that you can pretty much teach in for the rest of your life. But also understand that like the model is really going to be found like the model that you teach in is really going to be based on the season of life that you are in as well. So not expecting it to be a certain way, not expecting it to stay a certain way is a really important aspect of being an irresistible music teacher. So the first point I wrote here is the mission you're called to serve despite having the fears. So that kind of goes into the point I was talking about earlier, that like the mission that you're called to serve, the desire to share that mission needs to be strong. It needs to be stronger than the fears that really come with it, right? The fears of being vulnerable, the fears of putting yourself out there online. An irresistible music teacher is all in, even if they don't know what the work looks like ahead. I get a lot of teachers who are about to join the program and they're like, how much work is it going to have to be? How much do I have to work in order to create a six-figure studio? If you're asking yourself that, first off, I understand that question. Like, it's not a bad question to ask. But if you are really considering that, if you're really considering like, okay, if it's this amount of work, like I'm not going to do it. Like, how much do you want it then? Right? For myself, I know that with my belief in myself and how much I want to how much I want my music career to become even bigger, I'm willing to do what it takes to be the artist that I want to become. I know I'm willing to do what it takes to create the business that I want to have, to create the financial freedom that I want in my life. I don't know what the work looks like ahead, like 100%, but I know right now I'm willing to do whatever it needs to take. Whatever needs to be done today, I'm willing to do it. And that is the mentality that you need to have in order to become who you want to be, right? Think about your favorite idols. Think about the favorite sports stars. I think about that all the time when I watch sports, and I love like listening to different coaches with the sports teams that I love, and really seeing the mentality like be the same, whether it's business or in sports or in music. It's amazing, and one of them is just being all in, no matter what. Right. This next one, practicing patience. I think we talked about that already. So this one is really important. You have to be okay with sucking at content, and you have to be okay with sucking at teaching in a new model. That is really the make or break here that I've seen with teachers, on their way to creating a six-figure studio. It's when they get back into that feeling of being a new teacher again. And that's the feeling that I want you to seek. I want you to be okay with sucking at content. I want you to understand that like all this is going to be new. The same way that students are with you, right? You tell them it's okay to suck at your first performance. It's okay to suck while you're practicing. That's how we grow as musicians. That's also how we grow as business owners as well. Focusing on the process, I think we covered that. Lastly, irresistible music teacher does not need sales. Your satisfaction does not come from sales. Your satisfaction comes from living out the mission, living out your transformation, enjoying the students that you already have, and just being grateful that you're able to share this with them. That is probably the hardest part about being an irresistible music teacher, is living free of expectations. You can't expect yourself to create a six-figure studio tomorrow. Your journey is different from everyone else's. Your journey is your journey. So what we need to do is we need to practice balance, right? There is a balance. There is a dance that we have to perform between focusing on the process and being results oriented, but not relying on the results in order to be happy, right? I can focus on the process. I can be results oriented because it doesn't matter how you create a six-figure studio as long as you get there. That's awesome, right? It's awesome as long as you get there. And the same thing with music too. Doesn't matter how you get to the end of the track, but as long as your music sounds good, as long as you enjoy it, that's the only thing that matters. And the same thing with your studio as well. As long as you're just enjoying the process and enjoying the way you're teaching and enjoying the mission that you serve, that's really the only thing that really matters. So I know this is a lot. What I want to do is I want to really hear your biggest takeaways from this as well, and how you are going to take this and become the irresistible music teacher that you are already meant to be. So the only action item I have here is I want you to make a commitment for yourself today, right now. Like, this is your first homework. If you don't do this, you're already taking a step behind. So I'm going to give you the easiest homework to do, even if you do this in private. But if you are in the community, I want you to write and make your commitment in the community, being vulnerable, right? Putting yourself out there and saying, I am committed to being an irresistible music teacher. That's it, right? If you are just by yourself, write that on a piece of paper. Make that commitment to yourself. Put that on your wall. Put that on your desk. Put that in your studio, because this is the first step to being an irresistible music teacher. Understanding, being aware of who you are now and who you want to become. And you truly have to believe that, hey, I like, the strategies. I will learn my skills of marketing. I will learn my skills of sales. But right now, I'm committed to transforming. I'm committed to taking that first step to not just the studio that I want to have, but the teacher and the person that I want to become. That's what it takes to be an irresistible music teacher. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Obviously you can probably hear I'm very passionate about this. So I will see you in the next one, and I'm excited to see you on this new journey.